did it. What's your life? We're life.
Lisa, did you agree to join? Go back up. All right, we're gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order.
If you want to, please join me for short prayer. Gracious God, as the world awakens this spring day, grant us the strength to embrace new beginnings and the courage to let go of the past. May this season of rebirth inspire us to grow in faith and love and compassion and to see the beauty in every new day. Thank you, Lord, for the many blessings you give us each day. Move us in your perfect direction. Amen. Pledge to honor the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Because she's the host. Yeah.
I can try to share the invite again, put her name and send her another.
Do that. Yeah, okay. All right. First up, we have Judge Fee. Judge Big One.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I hope you're not getting tired of seeing me back here on a monthly basis. So Juror Pay Fund is what I want to talk about today. Juror Pay Fund is a revolving fund that is sourced by court costs. There's a little slice in every court cost assessed, set by statute. We don't have any control over it, but there's a piece of that pie that goes into Juror Pay Fund every year. Since the fund was established probably some 20 odd years ago, it used to be a line item on my budget. I see it there. But now it isn't. So I'm really here on behalf of the court system. This is a fund that all of our courts draw out of, excuse my voice. And it's a fund that, we just need the money when we need it. So we need it. and the 10,000, it's a ballpark. When I submitted my budget, we didn't have our courts dockets reorganized. That came in the last quarter of the year. And so, as you know, we talked about this, we reorganized, and I'm doing all the felony work. You're going to have more jury trials, and we have. So probably the court's kind of calculations a little on the low side. Having said that, we need to look at this fund. One of the questions I had this morning was, well, when Fremont Town Court closed, what happened to their jury pay fund? And then I learned that actually they wrote a check every month
Right.
to the county. So it's accounted for. So that money is accounted for, it's come in. We're not short there. This is just from jury trials. And we're going to have more jury trials. Magistrate has a couple coming up in the next 30 days. I check. We could have one in the next 30 days. And after that, it's almost not worth guessing because there are just too many variables. So we need the money. We have to spend the money. I don't know where you're going to get the money.
Set by statute, so we can't increase the fees.
You can't increase fees, good question. Set by statute, probably, along the way, they actually increased your pay. I'm not sure if they adjusted the court cost to offset that. So that's an accounting issue that probably somebody will look at, state board account somebody.
When you're down there in Indy, get your target pay people.
I'll try. But when I go down to Indy, I see other judges. We're all in class together. Either students or teachers. So you can do what you will, but we've got to have the jury trials and not have them. And the 10K is just my best guess. So we're
We can put this is the current cash balance.
not this.
No, they had already asked for some, and that wasn't in consideration.
This
The
is
sheet was filled out, so this is what is actually available for cash.
94, 64, 59.
okay.
Or 64.59. Thank you. So we'll just do
Okay.
that amount instead of the 10.
Okay. And by the way, you don't need Judge Fee or Judge Burns, Judge Musser to come down here and say, hey, it's time to move money. You can just move money in as it comes in, because it has to be spent for that. It's a revolving fund. That should be the repository of those funds.
We don't get to see it.
Don't bet on it.
Pulling this money forward, basically.
You ready for a motion? I would move to approve the 94-64-59.
Bill?
Eric had a good question. Why on the sheet, why on our balance funds, does it show a different number than that if that was just on the 31st?
Last posted date is 1/1/25. So just get the funds by 3/31, so something happened in April.
Email on 47.
Try to find it.
Sometimes we're looking at.
It's through the 31st. Yeah, that's it. He just said it's through the 31st. It's not that many days, so, yeah.
We just-
That makes sense.
Always need to be. Hi, Lisa. Yours is Lisa.
Lisa, we miss you.
IT.
And,
Right, so any further discussion, comments, or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, so,
Thank you.
thank you. Have a good day. You too. Perhaps. I did all copy of these.
Sure, they'll be happy to do that. Yeah.
Page ones. I printed them all. Please.
Good morning, guys.
Good
So,
morning.
for those of you that haven't met me yet, I'm Travis Musser. I took over the prosecutor's office in December. I think Nikki's been here for a few smaller things since then, but I haven't had a chance to go and introduce myself. We've got 3 new members here. So just want to say hi to you guys, and I think this one's pretty easy, but I wanted to at least kind of explain what we're asking for, make sure I answer any questions that you guys have got. So basically, what we're asking is the deputy prosecutor full-time fund, asking to move the 24,888 from that line item to our part-time line item. As you guys may or may not be aware, obviously Jeremy went to the bench, I took over the office, and we have not been able to fill our deputy prosecutor vacancy yet. So what we have been doing, we have a certified legal intern. She is a second-year law student that actually has a practice certificate that allows her to work in the courts under one of our supervision, but she can handle a small caseload. So she has been a godsend to our office, been coming in and actually helping Band-Aid kind of where we're at right now, handling some of our less serious cases. Obviously, we have to be there present with her in court to kind of keep an eye on things, make sure everything goes like it should. But we are paying her, or need to pay her out of that part-time fund. She's not a prosecutor technically, so we can't pay her out of that deputy prosecutor full-time line item. So we're looking to, the money's obviously already there, it was budgeted for. We're just looking to shift it from the one line item to the other so that we can pay her out of that and continue to get her assistance until we can get this position filled, hopefully in the not so distant future.
How many applications have you received?
So we've received a total of, I believe, 4 since it's been posted. We did not get any for the first 3 months for whatever reason. Well, I have a guess as to the reason. Obviously, you know, it's no secret, county prosecutors statewide don't get paid as well as they do in the private sector. You know, there's a lot of benefits that come along with working for the county, but pay is not one of them, obviously. There is some stuff downstate that they're trying to, prosecuting attorneys council is trying to get pushed through to where at least a portion of the deputy prosecutor's salary at the county level will be funded by the state, which, you know, in turn can increase their compensation, but also save money at the county level too. So if that goes through, I'll be talking to you guys about that, and then hopefully not so distant future. That could be a huge benefit to us being able to get probably more experienced attorneys and just overall better quality applicants for these types of positions. But
Do you know if that bill is gonna hold you guys to case numbers the same way it does
Right.
the PDs?
yeah, so I know there's been a lot of amendments to what's downstate right now, and whether it actually survives or not, we're not sure at this point. There's still funding is always obviously the big issue downstate, just like it is here. So they're trying to figure out where's the money going to come from if they're going to fund county paid prosecutors partially at the state level. So I think there's a lot of stuff to kind of iron out still on that front. If the funding gets there, then they'll probably iron out those details. But I'm assuming you're talking like similar to what they do with the PDs. Things
Yeah,
like
I just
that. Yeah.
remember when your brother sat down with us when we added the position and he showed the caseload difference
Yeah.
between you guys and PDs.
Sure.
So it would be fabulous if they were paying us back if there was a way to get reimbursement.
Right.
But if it forces us to then hire several more prosecutors, then it could just,
Sure, it's a wash almost, or worse.
yes, because then we're doing the
So-
benefits on top, so.
Exactly. So I don't know that I've seen any concrete numbers on that yet, and compare that to what we're currently dealing with. And you know, right now our filings, they continue to rise. I'm not sure what is going on. We're higher than any other county in the area, and I'm not sure why. I mean, my guess is proximity to the Michigan border is a big part of it. So we're continuing to file and process a lot of cases. But said this transition period has been a little bit challenging because of that, trying to find somebody to come in and fill this opening. We do have one more interview, I think, set up for this Friday. So hopefully get a hiring decision made here before too terribly long. But like I said, in the meantime, this situation that we're kind of dealing with right now, she's been great, and I hope that we can figure out a way to keep her around long term because she's a local girl. She has been doing a great job. I'd like to keep her in the office if we can, but yeah, for today though, that's what I'm asking, just to move that money from the one line item to the other so we can continue to fund her position. Anybody have any other questions about anything or just the office in general?
What's the space?
We're doing great. Yeah, I love it. It's nice to be able to just shoot upstairs for a quick hearing, and then, you know, if I'm waiting, go back down. That's been great.
Nice in the daylight.
Yeah, because the tricky part is, and I don't want to take up too much of you guys' time, the tricky part is I'm trying to figure out how to keep plants alive. I never had to worry about that in the old office because we not lived there. So I'm having to solicit help from the ladies out front to try to make sure my plants aren't dying. I mean, I'm not doing a great job. So, but no, it's been a really good transition as far as over here to this judicial center. It's been great. So, yeah.
Okay, I welcome a motion.
I would make a motion to approve the fund transfer of $24,888.
I would second it.
Kristen. Any further comments or questions? Raise your right hand. So,
Thank you guys. It'll be like this.
yeah.
I'm not gonna make a mistake and saying this is gonna be easy, so. But I'm here, just we received more grant money than we thought and just asked that that be appropriated.
Yes, you may.
So one, you haven't used any of that fund yet. Is that normal?
We haven't because it hasn't been appropriated, so that's why we haven't used it.
And then my second question was, what happens at the end of the year if you didn't use it all?
We do use it. Well, as soon as if you approve it, we will start using that money. So with the amount of drug testing we do, we also use that money for incentives. So we get like $15 or $10 gift cards that people can put their name in who are in compliance with probation. They put it into a monthly drawing. If their name is drawn out, they get a gift card.
Any care?
You're gonna get drug tested.
And we take the carrot back.
Unfortunately, that did happen.
Okay. Questions? Any further questions?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Bars.
I know, now I gotta write the names clearly. I guess I could do first and last.
Yeah.
Any further comments or questions? Okay, raise your right hand. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I think Tara might be in court, so I can
Okay.
keep her as well. Same thing, she received funding from drug free and she just needs it appropriated into the line item so that she can start using it.
Questions?
Make a motion to approve. Where did I get that?
Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. 7. Thank you for that, ma'am.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Actually, I have to wait till Brett gets here, so I'll be here a while.
Morning.
Good morning. I'm just here to ask for appropriation for our drug-free student funds, for art and equine therapy.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's breakdown. Yep. This last motion. Okay, any questions for Trinity?
Motion.
Yes, ma'am.
Move to approve.
I will second.
Any further questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. So,
Thank you, guys.
thank you. Just want to say, can you go?
Minutes.
Give us a second, though.
Okay.
Yeah, you can come up, but. she's just getting
I'm trying to catch
caught.
up. You're good.
How are you doing?
Good, good. Angie. They might be broke down. So they.
Oh, they are? Yep, yep, yep.
Yep.
Good.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
All right, special election.
Special election. It's supposed to be my off election year.
You were right.
And I have an election. So therefore, I did not budget for these costs. I did not know we having one. So with it being an off year, and the school, it's Hamilton Schools has asked for a referendum. So with it being an off year, they will have to reimburse. I'll bill them and then they will send a check to the auditor's office. So these costs I'm asking for, majority of the costs are going to be recouped and then sent back to the auditor's office before the end of the year.
When you say majority, what would we be getting?
I don't know if there would be like, can't think of anything specific that they wouldn't, yeah.
Do they have to pay it back in 2025?
It's like a state board of account form that's all filled out. I mail to them, I give them a copy. And I don't know how soon they receive it, but they have to receive it by December 31st. So I don't know how soon the school will write them a check.
Right. I just wondered if we were back the same year. That was my only question, is if we came back the same year. It was interesting because I talked to a school board member who did not know that they had to pay this.
not only do they have to pay it for Steuben County.
That's
we're
what I
a
told
split
them.
Or a split school, so it's half DeKalb, half Steuben, so they have to pay for 2 elections.
That is what I explained to them. Mhm. I was glad you gave me a heads up on that so that I could have that conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not a minus sign in front of the 450, guys. It's just a little penny mark there on the mechanic.
Yep.
Good. Any other comments for James? That question is for James.
It's coming out of general
Just bring
fund
it out of general.
and it'll go directly back into general when we get it corrected. Correct. Yep.
That's standard.
And Dan, there's a form, the State Board of Accounts form that I fill out and I put these numbers in. So if there's a number that's on here that does not allow me to charge it on the State Board of Accounts form for the school, then that's what I can't charge for. But I can't think of anything right off the top of my head that I wouldn't be able to charge for because I haven't used that form in a couple of years.
Would be-
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, I welcome a motion.
Yeah.
Bill?
Second.
Sorry, you ended up with an election.
Okay, any other questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Seven.
Thank you very much.
Angie? How you doing, Lee?
Better, thank you for asking. Rested.
Good. You had a busy month.
Yeah. Yeah, I think March definitely went out like a lion and, yeah. So, coming to you today to ask for some additional funds, I will openly admit that I made a calculation error in budgeting for tornado siren maintenance this year. Not expecting some additional costs as the contractor that we use raised their prices. And then we had an additional siren that they're going to look at that is, seems to be malfunctioning. I know it's a huge ask, but I was short $500 of what we need that was actually budgeted. So I'm asking for an additional $500 to be put in the tornado siren maintenance fund so that we can get those completed. The contractor is coming next week. So, and they've been used a lot recently.
Questions?
So my question is not for Lee. My question is, I guess, for you or for Commissioner on why we chose that fund number. So that's the same fund that we just took the NIPSCO money out of. And so we are,
I don't have that in front of me.
so we're doing a lot of the tower stuff and that out of 1235 where there's some more cushion than what we're doing. Because right now I show that we're gonna burn in lit a little over $500,000 this year. And so that was my question, was whether or not it could come out of 1235 instead of out of lit. I mean, I know that's still lit, but that's the specific lit, right? I just was curious why it couldn't come out of 1235 instead of 1112. Am I making sense?
Makes perfect sense. It's only $500.
I do know it's $500. I know it's $500. Negative was another 500, right? Was everybody remember my first year when I tried to move $50?
Yes.
So we need to do it. This has nothing, this was just a question for me about,
Oh, no, if it's any consolation, when I walked into the auditor's office and said I was doing this, I apologized, and she said, it's $500. I felt really bad.
His asks are always so large.
yeah,
It was budgeted out of 11, 12, so that's
Staying
where that's
consistent with
gonna, yes. And the other one is PSAP, and we would have to ask, because they're very specific about what can be paid out of PSAP and what can't.
didn't we move tower rental into PSAP? 195 or whatever. I mean, we put a tower rental into PSAP
do think it would qualify. So,
I can check on that.
but I like that it's in line with where the rest of it came from for now. And then next
It
time we
just-
can talk about. all that. So,
I
but if it's
just-
wigging you out, then make a different motion.
But my question is to your guys' office. I can't just decide to change a fund number because it has to be advertised, correct?
You can't suggest to change the fund.
Good question.
No, that was my question. I know it's only for $500,
But
but
Every 500 that we want.
it matters as it adds up.
I'll flag it for budget discussion, because it'll be the whole annual thing next year. So. Good. Cool.
Ready for motion?
Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the $500 from Fund 1112 and appreciate these concern and caring and watching every penny.
Very much.
You made me feel normal that $500 is a big deal, so thank you.
I'll second that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I spoke. Let's second.
Any further comments or questions?
I did make a note on my paperwork here to add it to budget discussions.
Thank you. You're welcome. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Seven. Okay.
I will see you at 4:00 this afternoon. Can I jump real quick? You've got listed here, item number 9 in email correspondence is an invitation. I'd just like to get it out. I know I sent this out yesterday, but the Boy Scout, the Anthony Wayne Scout Reservation will be holding a free pancake breakfast at the camp on Wednesday, May the 7th at 9:00. They've asked that I forward this out to elected officials. They would love to have you come so they can show you some of the things that they've been doing at the camp and some of the updates that they've been working with local emergency responders to improve that. So hope to see you guys there if you're available.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time this morning. Easily.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Jeff. How are you this morning?
Good. Morning. When we start with the update,
Let's start with Pokebachi.
Okabachi. Okay. We received a Next Level Trails grant for Pokebachi, we'll be calling South Phase 1. The construction of the trail that starts at the end of Angola city limits and goes to Pleasant Lake. We received the first portion of that grant funding, and last fall, when I was doing my encumbrance, I remembered to encumber my match, but didn't remember to encumber the money we already received from the DNR. So that's what I'm here for, request appropriating funds that we've already received, set in that account, so we can spend them.
Any questions?
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Eric, Bill? Any further questions?
Why did you say you didn't like it? Why did you say you didn't like it?
I did.
I thought.
I said I liked it.
Oh, you said I like it. I was very confused by what happened. I thought you said I didn't like it and then you made the motion, so I was
No.
confused.
Trans.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Seven. And transfer request, let's cover that.
I have a transfer request to, it's an online transfer request, to move $200,000 from 1176, 3055 road repair and maintenance into 1176, 2036 salt. Simply for, so we can go ahead and purchase majority of next winter salt this summer.
No more events this year, right? Today's a little cold.
That might be good.
Genuine fake wood.
This is real wood here.
and some tactical approach to salt distribution next year. Good deal. So we had some events this year. Okay. That's all I'll say about that. It's just a transfer request. Any
I'll make it.
questions, Bill? Okay.
Second that.
Eric? Any further comments or questions? Finally, you're feeling okay. I thank you for the analysis. I know you're going to cover next update, but if you're okay with that poll, obviously.
Yes.
You done that fun. Thank you, Chip. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
Did nice job. Thank you. Good.
Okay.
Update. All right, 1135 King Bridge. We're currently working on the design of Bridge 37, which is on County Road 675 West, south of State Road 120. We received a grant for this project in the federal aid process. I got a kind of a picture on there just so you kind of know what we're looking at. It's a three-sided arch structure. Typically, they cost a little bit more upfront, but in the long run, they have a lower life cycle cost. Plus, they're maintained. We like that. Small structure number 7, which is a large corrugated metal pipe on County Road 700 South. We received a community crossings matching grant to replace that. We awarded that project to API. We're all clear on our utilities, so we will be moving, replacing that structure this spring and for this summer. Cume Front, Cume Bridge funding, we're sitting there, nice balances over and above our desired cash balance. 1169, this is what we purchased. All of our equipment and patch, that's our 2 line items that we run out of there. That we're sitting there with a good, healthy fund balance in that one. We've already purchased or set up all our agreement for all of our equipment that we're buying this year. Typically, we've been running 18 to 24 months out on a tandem axle dump truck. We're actually we should receive one that we ordered this year out of this year's budget, and the one we ordered last year's budget, both this year. So that's kind of nice that process is getting a little bit rectified. 1173, that's our motor vehicle highway restricted account. So this is what we're paying for all of our construction, our grant projects out of. Doing pretty good in that. Cash balance is a little bit lower right now than what it is, but I've been watching that. That's going to come right back to where we need it to be. This is where we're funding our roundabout project. So the update on the roundabout project is we have one outstanding parcel to obtain right of way for. We are going to condemnation on that parcel in May. This is where we pay for our community crossing matching grant paving projects, which we've received $1.5 million from the state of Indiana. January application that we submitted. That's going to go to paving 10 miles of road. It's currently out to bid. Bids will be open at the next commissioners meeting. We have a capital improvement plan that I've been working on. I just need to find time to sit at my desk long to finish it. Pocabachi Trail, we've already talked about that. Thank you for approving that. 1176, that's our motor vehicle highway account. That's what we pay for all of our operations side of highway park maintenance out of. That's actually sitting pretty good. These balances are a month old. That's back to where we expect it to be for desired cash balance. And the fuel center is up and running and going well, other than tape monitors, which I'm tired of calling them my tape monitors, but we have the old fashioned stick method too. So they're constantly working on that part of it. But as of right now, we're sitting at
$20,000 in savings on fuel. Average fuel savings 47 cents a gallon going to the pump. So that's all of our fleet. County maintained fleets can come out and get fuel from us, so that's going well. It's my update.
Jim, on the grant tracking there. It was great. Don't leave it one other thing for you, but do we have any questions on what he's reported on there so far?
The 1176, here, these numbers, does it have the 200 we did today? I mean,
Yes, because that 200 is just moving from one.
So,
We
yeah,
already have the money appropriated, or budgeted. So I'm not asking for an additional 200,000 at this moment.
I apologize. It wasn't me.
While we have you up there, would one of the commissioners want to talk about the 10:05 on our agenda?
They don't want to talk more.
Yeah, they had chipped this morning.
Address that for us?
Absolutely. We have additional appropriation request out of a rainy day fund for $250,000. So this spring, our pothole season began early, and it's still going. Part of what happened is we had a nice warm spot in February after a very hard freeze, which opened up and thawed the first few inches of the roadway. And then we had a nice downpour rain, and then we had a nice good freeze again, which meant it sandwiched all that water in between our roadbed and that frost line. And when people drove over, like you have to go to work, do background stuff, tore up a lot of roads. And we're out digging them up, patching and doing the best we can. We specifically ear tagged or earmarked 3 stretches of the roads that were worst hit: 100 south, 250 south, 400 south in the southwest corner of the county, specifically because of the damage that was done to them. And they're far enough out on my paving schedule that if we just leave it as patch, you're going to have to do constant maintenance on these roads for the next 4 years. So we figured out how much it would cost to include them in this year's road program, single tip seal on the top of the path, which would buy us time to keep it on the schedule as it is. So that is our request for $250,000 out of rainy day fund, because it's raining.
I say no pun intended on rainy day.
I think it's funny,
All the jail was.
but and then that's what it's there for. So we can go chip seal another 10 miles that we've patched up.
So my question to the auditor's office of the commissioners is the balance we're looking at in rainy day right now with the jail roof paid for?
I think we just paid the final on that.
Just paid it, like we're not looking at it, it was paid in April.
The current is just 3,948.
So what we're looking at is the real balance after the last big rainy day project.
And is there ambulances promised out of there?
I don't think we took them out of rainy day.
We took them out of Riverboat. That's why Riverboat doesn't have anything in it.
2027 ambulances.
Whenever.
I do think we did put in another order.
Yeah.
When are those supposed to hit?
18 months. Yeah, orders today wouldn't see for about a year and a half.
You talking about ambulances?
Yeah, I thought we
So
did.
we had to order in for ambulances.
Yeah,
We got the 2, and then we put in again, correct? After the 2 that were delivered? Wasn't there talk?
I know we have a remount coming up.
yeah. But there is one that's still on order.
So one on
They haven't
order and a
delivered yet.
remount coming.
Okay, so the commissioners support this out of rainy day
Yes,
additional road.
I think that's what the intention of it.
Yeah, if we don't at least do a single chip seal over those roads, like Chip saying, the constant maintenance will well exceed what that single chip seal is gonna cost.
We're down your schedule, aren't they?
4 years.
Will the chip seal get you till then?
Mhm.
Good.
And there's nowhere else
For what?
for this to come from.
Where would you like to see it come from?
Huh?
Where would you like to see it come from?
I look at desired cash balances. I think he's been walking that line and monitoring that real tight. I think that would be a big impact on 1176 or.
If you want to affect the current road program, we could take it out 1176, but it's just going to reduce whatever we do elsewhere.
But there is talk that we haven't, I mean, is it gonna come back in ARPA? I mean, it's the same amount that you think is gonna come back.
So. Yeah, so there might be some recall request in ARPA. That would free up some ARPA funds, but it hasn't happened yet.
Well, and is that money guaranteed out of ARPA for that amount? I mean,
No, it's not.
I mean, roads is a little bit more important, right? Than continue, I mean, we're just way below what Peter said we were gonna have in our, I mean, what we projected, what we need to have in our rainy day.
Way below projected.
So, in his report that he gave us last year, he projected that we would have in that account at the end of 2024, we had 5.1.
If you had the jail roof in there.
Well, part of it is, I wasn't here for the December meeting, I asked for Renee. He projected that we were gonna do 950 into it, but we only did 500, so 450 swing there. I do not know if he had the jail roof in this. This is what came out, what we got last year in June.
Yeah, I don't think he had it in there. I think that was the biggest reason our balance is lower. You know, it's at our discretion at the end of the budget cycle, what we want to move over there. And historically, from my time on council, that's still a really healthy balance, even having paid for the jail roof out of there. So when he's doing projections, he's projecting based on what we maybe have moved the last 3 years. He's not saying you need to have this balance in there. It's completely council's discretion on that balance. He's just saying, I'm just going to project forward based on your behavior in the past. So he's not saying you really should have $5 million in there. He's just saying, I'm giving you my projections based on what you've done in the past.
In the last 2 years, so 23 and 24, we put more in there than we had any of the previous years. Typically, it had been 4,000.
400, yep, and 21 and 22, and with those bigger numbers, if we do this, we're gonna take rainy day back to where it was basically in 2021, before we made those bigger strides. And
So
with
when
all
you-
the stuff that is coming from the state to not have a,
Cushion.
yeah,
So there's some cushion in some spots. I guess I shouldn't say that. Okay, so everything's based on capital projections. Like the biggest expenses that come out of there are going to be what the commissioners are working on. That maybe QCAP can't handle, or some bigger capital things going on. For a long time, we had that old judicial center unknown in front of us, right? Past that, we wrapped up the financing piece on that. The jail group was the other really big one. The sheriff still got a few capital projects that could be looked at by the commissioners under different funds. But when I look at major project stuff that we've accomplished, I would much rather take this out of rainy data and would impact its real budgets.
Like, it sounds like either way. Point, this has to get done, or it's gonna cost more.
oh,
And then if
I'm
we
not
pull it
saying-
out of his now, then we're gonna end up having to pull something out of rainy day to go back into that to fund what needs to happen anyway that's already been budgeted.
By definition, to me, rainy day is always bad. Maybe you're planning for it, but when these things come up you weren't planning for, That's why you have a rainy day fund, right?
Where's our plan for those big CapEx ones that are coming then? Riverboat isn't gonna have it.
Well, I think the stuff that kind of incorporated into the King Cap budget or what have you. They can respond to that.
I mean,
I can't.
I would agree that this rainy day is designed overall for a project like this where it was not something that we could budget and plan for. I'd make an argument, you know, the taxpayers would probably rather see the money go onto the roads, that's what they pay taxes for, than, you know, hold into another fund, so. I think that's exactly why this, we call it rainy day, and for an example, just like this.
So the extra money that we backed into insurance, we hit 200 or 250 on it with the liability insurance. Have we hit anything else on that?
I did go through the previous agendas for 2025.
I didn't either. So why can't we take it from there?
What makes me squirmy about that is our number of employee growth, just the unknown of health benefits. I just, the last, 3 years where we've grown that area. Can take it from there, but it makes me a lot more uncomfortable than taking it from rainy day.
But I mean, that's really just about revenue replacement, right?
Well, that's what
From
ARPA is.
ARPA.
Yeah.
So we only take insurance out of that insurance line, that is all.
We have some cushion somewhere. So rainy day would back, if insurance was weak funded and we had an insurance problem, rainy day would support that, back that up.
We did budget, 150,000 for some of those other, projects for the jail.
For the jail.
Yeah, so that has been budgeted for. Some of these other things that are coming up from the sheriff, there's budget for that.
Where do we plan to take the remount in the next ambulance that's gonna be, that we have to pay for, that's coming?
I gotta look and see where, I thought we had
I
already
think that's a
discussed that.
budget here.
I'll have to look and see. I'll add that to my look and see list.
But I would welcome a motion for however anybody wants to form it. Let's do a motion.
I would make a motion to approve it out of the rainy day fund.
Eric Bill, a rainy day. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. 5-2, okay.
Now it's Christina and Renee.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Mr. Blackburn.
Morning. For those that don't know me, I'm Stuart Blackburn, CFO at Millwood Poultry. We're here today to present our abatements. We have 9 abatements with the county, 5 personal property and 4 real property. I gave you guys a summary, I think, before the meeting last week, sent it out. We are anywhere on this abatement request. We were supposed to add anywhere between 3 and 20 employees, depending upon the year that those requests came in, adding up to basically $730,000 of wages. I think from the summary that I gave, you can see we're well above those numbers. We have added 235 employees or 228 of the ones. The wage is significantly higher. Somewhere between 15 and 24 million, depending upon the year the abatement came in. So we made the investment, we're doing, I think what we said we could do over at Miller. And, the plant's pretty much, running near capacity at this point in time. So it's been a good couple of years. I've been there about 3 years and we've just continued to see some good growth. So
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
I just want to make sure I'm reading correctly now. So under your schedule there for the council, believe this is the last year for 2 of the abatements?
I believe so, yeah.
These were all 10-year?
I believe they were all 10-year. Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at
I remember
some
that
of the last, we might have been 5
Yeah.
on some of the last ones.
But the scale was different too.
Correct.
So just since we have 3 council members that haven't been through this process before. You don't? Okay. All right. So let me just let them ask questions or ask questions of me or commissioners. What questions do you have about this process? I'll give you a little overview. When when the EDC reminds them that their timing has come around, when they approach EDC, they work through Isaac with the EDC to establish the abatement initially, and that abatement is set up on real estate or personal property. And then there's a schedule assigned to how they're getting abated. And it's all based really on the wages that they're so then once that abatement is granted the first time, it has to be reviewed and updated with current data that they're it's called substantial compliance. Okay, so Isaac will review that with them and then make a recommendation to us on council whether he views them to be in substantial compliance. We've had other abatements out there that weren't. We voted not to continue abating. Maybe not everybody agreed on it. Some people voted to keep it going because they were still had reasons why they weren't to their employee count or their wage count yet, but they were on track to get there for the year. So it is a little bit discretionary, I guess. We haven't necessarily been 100% by the you met it or you didn't. But typically, we want to stick with that rule, right? There's got to be a real good reason to vary from that. I think with you folks out at Miller, we had a couple of years where, we were abating equipment to drive automation, which was keeping the employee wage numbers maybe level. And they have a lot of what I would call layered abatements here. So their growth has been very organic in a lot of different ways over the years. So it's kind of a complex thing to look at, but they're through the heavy part of this abatement scale. This stuff is going to start rolling off a lot faster and spend coming in, right? Unless you have new projects. Okay. So that's just my overview. And are there any other questions that we can?
On this, so like the employee numbers and the payroll numbers, that's just new additions here in the county. You're built, not like your purchase of your already that included.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's completely separate.
It's just notes for Steuben.
Yeah, that's Steuben, Portland, only doesn't even include our operations really for the live side over in Goshen. So it's just technically
Okay.
what's in Steuben County over at the Orland facility. So these are our employee numbers over there. Yeah.
So what kind of analysis would we have that would show the wages that are landing with residents in Steuben County?
So yeah, so we're pulling employees obviously from Branch County, Michigan, from Steuben, LaGrange, Allen County even. I would say that right now, that probably of all the employees in our area, 40% are probably in Steuben County. We are pulling quite a few employees, from Fort Wayne, and from obviously Branch County.
So would you be willing to work with Isaac on a report for council on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
We look at wage impact growth strictly to Steuben County.
We can absolutely do that. Yeah.
So does Michigan work like, so I have one employee from Ohio that if she was physically here so much time, she had to still pay local income tax. So is Michigan the same way? So we're still getting local income tax even though they're
Correct.
in Michigan?
That's the place where they work.
Yeah.
But then where they're spending the monies. Back
Right.
right? Right?
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, but we can definitely do that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever asked for that or had that before.
Yep, I don't think so, at least in my 3 years, we
You
haven't.
just have so much going on, it'd be really good information.
Yeah, then we could do that.
So before I welcome, exceptional performer. Great partner in the community, everybody. Is there any other questions? Got the motion. Bill?
I will second.
Christina? And Bill, if you would state the motion as, or would you accept that your motion being received as you're finding them in substantial compliance? So real estate and personal property.
Yes.
And
Yes,
And your,
I amend my second to this amended motion.
okay, thank you. Yep, take your time. Found in substantial compliance. Real estate and personal property. Sure that's it. Okay, so we didn't formally make a motion to request that additional data, but whenever you can pull that together, that would be wonderful. Just share it. You don't have to wait till next year. If Isaac can help you.
Yeah, great, yeah.
I did make a note of it though.
Okay.
So that we can follow up, we'll follow up with these.
Okay, yep, perfect.
And that was just, Dan, that was, what, Steuben County,
Percentage of employees in Steuben County and impact on that. Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, we got 6-1.
I'm choosing to abstain.
Abstain. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. If anybody wants to come see the plan, I know you guys were out last year, but.
It was so cool.
It was
I
really
loved it. It was really cool.
And then you
Any new members that want to come through or anything? Thank you, just let us know, reach out.
It's
All right, thank you.
Love.
Those of you who don't know me, Greg Mauer, Steuben County Deputy Surveyor. I'm just asking to move around some already existing funds in the section corner perpetuation fund. It's looking to get 50,000 moved to perpetuation professional fees so we can pay contractors that are doing the work. As you know, in our office, none of us are licensed, so we have to use a third party to do the work. And by law, we're supposed to establish, record 5%. This might be the first year Steuben County's ever done that. We're doing well at it.
You tried.
Yeah, we don't even try it. So we just need 50,000 moved to pay for the third party. To perpetuation and professional fees, fund number 1202, account number 30503. There's a current cash is $310,893.10.
It's not necessarily needed to appropriate. It's in that district. Cash. Does that make more sense?
Yep. It's not bad. How far does that get us? What's the scope of work of this professional provider?
So it's a lot. Digging up these section corners, I mean, they were installed over 100 years ago, a lot of them. you have to come in, do a lot of research. When you start digging on one, you need to be within a couple, because you're just making a giant hole at that point, and you're looking for a field stone. So it's a lot of work. Sometimes it takes a half a day, you don't even find anything. And then, so it's a lot of work that surveyors don't want to do, but we found a good one to do it, so.
So are we paying them, I guess my question, let me rephrase that, are we paying them by per corner, or are we paying
Per
them
corner, it's correct.
how much per corner?
They gave us a rate sheet. We have a,
Around 1,200.
yeah, it's approximately $1,200 a corner.
So if they spent 2 days finding one, that's not costing us more money, it's, we're paying them for what they find.
It can cost us more money, just depends on if they cannot find it. It's unobtainable. If they have to, some corners are a little deeper, require like a mini excavator and stuff like that, so it just depends on the corner, but the majority have about $1,200. Some are even cheaper than that. Just depends on how deep they are. You know, they do the research. I mean, he could spend hours doing research up in the office and find out that this thing's only a foot deep, and he will use a shovel. So
So it's costing us about $42 a corner. Is that right?
No, it's 1,200 corners, so you're gonna
Oh,
be
there's
about 40
1,200 corners.
cheap. No, $1,200 a corner. You took 50 divided by that, right? So they're gonna be able to touch about 41
41
corners. And how many corners do we have?
we've already he's already submitted over 30 this year, and he's at like number 60.
No, how many do we have in the county?
Sorry,
That's
approximately 1,400. 70 would be about 5%.
You already knew what I was doing.
So we got some catching up to do.
Yeah.
So it's a very expensive project.
Absolutely. And then once they're established, you know, it's a lot easier. They already have the GPS coordinates, you know, it's a lot easier at that point. But we're going off of people that use chains with these things back.
Yeah.
So once it's done, it'll be a lot easier, a lot more.
So was there already money in this fund and you think you've spent?
Yes.
was already appropriated? So
So,
this is to get the next
Correct.
41?
Correct.
So then maybe we can hit the 70 this year?
Correct.
What replenishes this fund?
Recording fees come in, are part of, from the recorder's office come in, which is 2,000 to 3,000 a month, I think, that we get into the perpetuation.
So we're burning it faster than it's being replaced, but we're accomplishing our goal.
Absolutely.
And we've not had anyone do it for several years.
Right.
This is, yeah, like the first last
Well,
year.
now we didn't start.
Yes, yes.
Good that we're getting it done.
Sorry, give me a longer get ready.
Okay, any other questions?
Talking about it.
There's none. None, I'd welcome the motion.
Most approved.
Approved.
Second that.
Any further comments, questions? Okay, raise your right hand. Keep up the good work, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Morning.
Morning. Two different things. The first one is to request approval to apply for the annual community corrections grant. This grant funds community corrections. It funds one person out of Steuben County probation, one person LaGrange County probation, and one person out of LaGrange County drug court.
And it covers just salaries, right?
Correct.
Salaries and benefits.
It does do benefits?
Yes. And you're
it's just 1,000 series. Or I don't even know what you call that now.
Yeah, the 1,000, yeah.
Okay.
Personnel.
The numbers all change.
So it says it's an advance and reimbursement both.
Yes. So at the beginning of the year, now they changed it again this year. 25% of the award comes in first. And then they take the remaining 75%, they divide by 12, and then they send that every month. 1/12 of the 75%. So, yeah.
So, I mean, it basically leaves you front end loaded cover wages.
It does now, yes. Years prior, it was just took the entire amount, divide by 12, and that's what you got.
And it could be a timing cycle problem with payroll.
Sure. Yes. And it ran in the red considerably last year.
Yeah. Thank you for the breakdowns there too.
You're welcome.
So let's take that one independently first. I have one other question. I didn't look back, what was the number from last year? What's the road?
It's the only thing that's extra in there for community corrections is raises. And all of that is asked for through the DOC. There are no increases on the user fees. So 2,000, 3,000s, 4,000 series, there's no increase.
But so, no additional positions
Correct.
and a percentage of wage increase.
I put in 5%. 5%.
Welcome to motion.
Move to approve.
Really?
Second.
Any other comments? Raise your hand. Seven?
Yes, step out for just a second here.
Sure.
Excuse me.
Right, would it be too disruptive if we took a quick break before we took your part,
Okay.
or you're on a tight schedule?
We got out 59.
After.
Okay. Since we have a member that stepped in for a second.
Yep.
Let's recess for 10 minutes.
Make sure you shut off your microphones.
It's down in Firefox,
Oh,
you're right there.
how do I get all the way around? I'm trying to figure it out.
Well, I mean, it's kind of weird. It's latest.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Remind me, I paused this.
Okay. Yep.
I actually not press the button again.
Just to view.
Yes, they do. You're good.
Very good. Okay, let's reconvene. And back to Brett for his second additional appropriation request.
All right, this is an additional appropriation request to appropriate funds in the CTP fund. This is money that is received by the Department, or from the Department of Corrections for housing their inmates. So they're participants on usually work release, sometimes home detention.
Here's my question. Here's where we got confusion last night. It looks like we're requesting to pull from fund that we don't have the cash balance to support. So I'm showing 11/23 as of March 31st, an ending balance of 23,450.37. So
Things have been paid out of the CTP line items that they're not appropriated. So the request I did on 3/17/25, the ending cash balance was $30,470.06. So I've got that breakdown for the reason of the request. The January CTP award for $2,450 was received 3/12. The $2,750 award for February was received on 4/4. All of those funds are in the CTP fund.
But what we're seeing on our request is current cash balance isn't actual.
So he's got.
Well, it's
Part of the
He's
fund.
got, right, he's gotten this in since this has been drawn up and since that's been printed. So that was as of 3/31. So this one would have been in there.
Yeah, this is one.
This one would not have been in there, but has since been received. Correct.
Okay, but if you had 2450 to 3,000. Still come up with enough.
You already had the 30,470.06, and then you got the 2450 and the 2750, right?
Correct.
Okay,
So you already had this, and then you got both of these.
I'm not either, because then there's an expenditure of 94.69 here, which brings it down to the 23.
So since the 23,450, you received two of these amounts? Oh, it is already there. 50 is already there.
We're not seeing the 27.
2750 is not, so if you had 2750 to the 23,450, you still don't have enough funds.
It,
Yes.
the 2750 won't be because that is as of 3/31, and he didn't, it got deposited on 4/4.
But it's still not.
Yeah, it still doesn't add up. It's like 26 and some change.
You're talking about the current cash balance?
Yeah. Like I'm missing something somewhere.
Yeah, I still have to cover the negative appropriation. So the money that's already been spent, that still has to be brought to zero. And then further ahead.
And then
Why
farther
was it spent before we had funds?
I don't know.
11,250.
Well, it wasn't spent before we had the funds. It was spent before the line item was appropriated.
So what are you showing as a live balance?
Currently, right now, the cash is $26,200.37. Yeah, which is the. But he's expended some. So it's got to take that into consideration. So the money you're asking to be appropriated is money that you've received that hasn't been appropriated yet, but has already been spent,
Some of which has been.
some of which has. And because it's a grant fund. No, is this grant fund? This is not. It kind of is, yeah. Yeah, you kind of treat it as such. And sometimes you're appropriating money that you don't quite have yet.
But
It's
we'll
just
be
the way, yeah, but you will get, this is just coming. Those funds, it's always coming that way.
This department has always been a unique animal, to try to get your head around.
Yes.
And I'm gonna defer to the auditor's office as far as comfort level with this.
Honestly, Brett always does a great job with the numbers part of it. We're always where he ends up, saying he'll be. And we see everything in advance, so what we're getting in, we know we're getting it.
Yeah.
Just. And we have worked with him on simplifying some of the things to make it easier with the auditor's office, and he has worked with us.
I know we accomplished that on payroll.
But if he's already spent it, it would already be out of here, right?
I think, is that what the 9469 is? Part of that that's already paid out those bills? Now we need to get
So if it's.
we're just working backwards here.
But then it still doesn't give us,
But there's more coming in, is what I'm taking from this. Like, this is gonna put it negative, but there's more money coming in from
So you
other,
received
from other grants.
$11,250 in 2025 already.
but that would already be in that number. Right? Other than the 2750.
Unless it came in April, it would not be in that number.
Right, which is why she gave us that, which gives us the cash balance of the 26,237. And you're asking us to appropriate 30. I don't know how we appropriate if it isn't there.
It's just like any other grant fund that we do that for. We do it on a lot of the grant funds, just so they don't have to keep coming back every year. You're gonna get the money. It's just,
If you're confident in that.
yeah,
Why
as
hasn't
long
it
as
gotten-
they've been approved for it.
Yeah, why didn't they get March's CPT award? It says January and February. Why
It's
don't we
always
get a
the ones
March one?
behind.
I have to wait until March ends, and then I submit the request.
So will it be another 2750? It's the same
It's actually
amount?
higher,
It is higher?
3750 maybe. What is the amount that you have that has been spent?
9469,
Just out of that month.
Just in that.
yeah, just
Just
that
in that
month.
And the cash balance is 26,237.
Yep,
$200.37.
$200.37. Sorry, Ann.
You're fine.
so if you add, I think,
It's the one they
that's
just.
so that, okay, yes, all right. So if you take that, add the 2750 and add that to it, it's that on the button.
Oh, it's down here.
Yep, it equals that to the penny. So he's already spent he's got the checks for the 9469. If you add that to the CAT, it equals 0 plus the 2750. So he's having to spend out front. That grant money's coming in behind it, but that equals that to the penny. I don't like it, but it makes sense.
The budget is 100% based on.
Yeah.
It's not partially the timing of the state.
Now, I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
I've been informed by the DOC. Now I can budget for DOC or CTP fund. How would you like me to do that? Would you like me to take an average of the last 3 years? And then what has been earned? And then put that in there? This is like for June.
What don't you know when you set that budget? What will they determine later?
I have no real idea how many people we are going to have on CTP from 1 year to the next. Best indicator is past.
Like right now, we have a lot more people on CTP than we have in quite a while. Last year, we didn't have that many.
How do they award it? Based on your past?
So, about a month and a half before somebody is eligible to be released, I get an email notifying me. And I have to look at the person's offense, because we do not take sex offenders, we do not take violent offenses, definitely don't take murder. And if that offense then is okay, then it moves on and they have to be, they go through the interview process, so they have to submit an application, and then we determine all that. Then if they pass all of that, then they can come on. So there's not a heck of a lot of people that pass all that. The other method is if the judge is seriously considering modifying somebody's sentence. You don't get the notification from the DOC because their time's not there yet. But I go through all the same process, the offense, the interview, all that. And then I file a report with the court, and if the judge orders them on, they're on.
I guess my question is, if you're trying to do it budgetarily in advance going forward, do you get reimbursed on your census of success completion or your census of people in the program?
We get reimbursed $25 per day that they are on, except for the very last day.
Okay, so you could budget with us.
There are rules. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the kind of appropriation that if we didn't have the money, we just wouldn't spend it. I mean, it's not earmarked for anything specifically. So it's not like community corrections is relying on those funds to exist.
There's mine.
Made my head.
He's following the rules set forth to him.
Yeah. Right.
So, his question, yeah, that's what I was gonna bring back to
I
them.
mean, if that's the best metric you have, then yeah.
That's all
It's
you-
based on population.
Yeah,
That's all you can do.
So,
Yeah.
The only way you can figure it.
Yeah, how do you?
it's a guess from one month to the
Yeah.
next. I mean,
Yeah.
right now, let's say we've got 7 people on CTP. That's quite a few. That could all change tomorrow. They could do something stupid, for lack of a better word. Then they're all gone.
Right, that's how they get there.
yeah.
What's the average length somebody's on it?
The maximum is 180 days. And for that, you have to have an offense that is higher than an F6, and it has to be a drug offense. It can go down to 60 days. So it's kind of a mixed bag. Maybe 120 would be the average
Okay,
that they're supposed to be on for.
what did they?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Wow.
They get good time credit on yours. Did you
Yes.
go inside?
Now, when they're on community transition, they are still technically a DOC inmate. So we have to follow all of their rules for any discipline. And so, yeah, typically for somebody that isn't CTP, we would file a revocation with the court. This doesn't go through the court. The court's already put them in DOC. So we proceed with their administrative rules, and we hold a disciplinary hearing board. There's all kinds of paperwork that goes with that. And then if revocation is determined, they go straight to the jail. And then the jail calls DOC and arranges a pickup.
So CTP is only DOC.
Correct.
Any other questions? Anybody care to make a motion?
I move to approve.
Both?
Yes.
I will study both.
Any other questions from Brett? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, got 7, Brett.
Thank you.
Good time.
Yes, thank you. I did have a couple things. I wanted to thank the highway department and the commissioners for the gas. That has saved us a tremendous amount of money. Tremendous. And we are currently working with Chip to get sand and salt, which will save us even more money. Because they could buy it in bulk, just like the gas. So, it's awesome.
It's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Aaron, what you doing to provide us an update? Yeah.
Yeah. They got a few different things. The first quarter, we were chosen for a desk audit by the CCAA. Hey, this is not anything abnormal. It normally happens once a year. They just kind of pick and choose which counties they want to do it on which quarter. So we got chosen for the first quarter. So
It's
all
gonna give you something to do.
Oh, yeah. So all of that information actually gets submitted with our first quarter reimbursement request. So the first quarter reimbursement request is about completed. And the audit information, I've compiled pretty much all of that as well. So it's ready to be submitted once I get approval on the reimbursement request. I also submitted the first quarter misdemeanor data tracking grant reimbursement to the CCAA as well. So that way the county can get the reimbursement for that grant. The public defender board has moved forward with the proposed job descriptions for the proposed public defender office. There is a personal advisory committee meeting scheduled for this Friday to review those. Depending on what that committee does, I'm going to go to the commissioners and then to county council for approval. But again, we don't have funding in place, so we're not quite sure. We're just trying not to be too far behind the 8 ball if and when the time comes. So we're still moving forward with those job descriptions. We did have some turnover with regards to public defender, but we found a replacement really quick. That transition is happening on Monday. So we will not have any lapse in, not having anything like that. So we are good to go. I'm coordinating file transfer as well between those attorneys. Keeping up on the misdemeanor data tracking, over the weekend, I added information on approximately 75 cases to their SharePoint drive down at the CCAA. So we're keeping up on that. I am aware that one of the judges spoke to a couple reps on the committee that's making the decision who's going to be part of the misdemeanor pilot program. So that is a good thing. And I don't have any official update from the CCAA regarding that program, other than some speculation, but of course I'm not gonna speak to that because I don't know if it's good enough. Other than that, that's it. Any questions?
I think we need to probably in our May meeting, discussion time for should we get awarded the PD office program, our strategy for funding it, because our funding needs to be ready to go.
Analysis of what we think will get reimbursed so that we understand what true numbers we're literally looking at. Yeah, I mean, well, and honestly, it's gonna depend on a lot of different things, what are expenses? What are all of the reimbursable cases and what are, I mean, there's a lot of different factors here that you have to put into play. So, right now, our misdemeanors don't count, and you have some other non-reimbursable cases, which you're always gonna have some of those non-reimbursable cases. You got non-reimbursable probation violations and some other things that just don't count. So you are gonna have some non-reimbursables, but again, depends on your expenses.
So what's the timing pace of reimbursement? Monthly,
No,
we submit and then we get reimbursed.
no, so and we're about a quarter behind, aren't we? Yeah, so like I'm getting ready to submit the first quarter of 2025. Have we gotten the fourth quarter of 2024 yet? I don't think so. It's real close, like with submission of the one, then you get the other.
So we need to basically, when we're establishing funding for this, we need to make it 6 months. Cost.
3 or 4 months, I mean, it's just, at least 4 if we haven't gotten it
I mean,
yet.
it's April,
Yeah,
we haven't gotten the fourth
gotten it yet.
quarter.
Another question is how, let's say we get a word and we get notice end of June. How soon do we have to have the office running?
So I know like Range is implementing an office, and once they implemented the program, they technically didn't have an office up and running. I think it's still actually getting there, but they had that chief public defender in place and the public defenders underneath that chief public defender. So I think they actually just hired somebody recently for that PD office, and here we are in April and they were approved beginning of January.
So we basically just need to have our personnel structure in place.
Which we have a thought, but what I struggle with is, you know, what kind of software is that chief PD going to want in order to track cases and things like that? You know, we had somebody that had thought on what was going to be needed, but you know, until we figure out who that chief PD is, you know, they may have some insight on some other things as well. You know, are they going to want laptops that have like a docking station like the prosecutors have so they can take it over to the court instead of actual desktop computers? You know, that's always a possibility, but we can't figure all that out, and we can't spend those funds yet because we don't know if it's going to happen. We have the offices, we have the desks, the chairs, you know, things like that, but
Will the reporting requirements no longer be on you? They'll be on that office?
so the plan was, I'm still going to be administrative staff for the Public Defender Board, doing meetings and minutes. With regards to the cases, they will be compiling the cases and they will still be sharing that information with me. When you compile the report, having access to the auditor's office LAO system, Harris before, is very, very beneficial, because then we can see all the transactions, everything that was paid from every single budget, whether it be the circuit court, superior court, magistrate, or the public defender budget. You can compile all that, throw it into the report, and send it on. So the thought process was that I was still going to be doing the reporting. So I've been doing it for so long, and I can be used as a resource for the public defender office with regards to training and questions that may come up for case counting and everything like that.
And is our physical space moving along with being prepared in case?
So I don't know about the renovations. I haven't heard anything with the cost estimate on that. There wasn't a whole lot to do, just a couple of different lots, I think, and then they wanted to create a conference. I don't know. I haven't seen anything. Have you guys seen anything? For the old prosecutor's office area, for the
Layout?
PD office. Yeah, I haven't seen anything from Austin.
Oh, a quote, I have not seen a quote, but I think he's had people look at it, so I don't know if there's a final quote yet.
We're for sure, that's our space.
Yes.
Yeah, and it will work the way it is now. It's just having that conference room will, of course, be a benefit. And then there's room for like a receptionist, and there's 2 more behind that. And then there's 2 offices as well. And then they were going to create a conference room.
So sounds like we got our ducks as in a row as they can be in case.
I don't want to get too far behind, but we can't too far
Can't
ahead.
get too far
either.
ahead either. I think I'm liking our chances of this. Okay, well, thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Yes.
Auditor, you're, wait a minute, commissioner discussion on new fuel tanks.
No, Will did not fill me in on what he was wanting to talk about on that one. I was more with Chip and the road situation. I was assuming you, from our discussions yesterday on the Don't remind me, Kelly, I had a lot going on.
Yeah.
After meeting at the,
There's a,
reimbursement.
yeah, there is a shortfall in the amount of money that ARPA gave to the airport versus what it's gonna cost to completely take out the underground fuel tanks and then put the new ones on in the sum of about $310. And they did,
10,000.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Not dollars. Another zero. So they are requesting to take out a loan, basically. And this will have to go in May because we're already in April, so, but they're bringing it to you. They want to request 310,000 from, Major Moves. And then as soon as they get their money back, which is coming from, hey, I got that. I did bring my notes from the airport yesterday. Indiana Department of Environmental Management, they have a new program. The airport will be the first to use it. And they can get, I'm assuming it's like grant money, 300 to 310,000 for what they need to finish off that project and get the fuel tank set above ground.
For some reason,
But they have to spend it first.
I got you. But it's something that we would expect during.
Reimbursement.
Yes.
So I don't know why, but you remember, so it was probably 10 years ago, we decided to fund refueling out there and
Right.
pre-fund the gas supply. And so
I don't remember that, but.
I remember approving the funding for, it was a really large dollar amount to basically fill the tanks so that we could start refueling planes out there.
Yeah.
And we were making a little bit of money on refueling. For some reason, I thought we put new tanks in and we did that.
I don't know, no, those are old underground tanks, yeah. So those underground tanks will become above ground tanks. And I think that was the, so with that grant by them, before they just did underground and replaced with underground. Now they're going to underground and then you can replace with above ground.
We're going above ground?
We're going,
Yes.
yes.
They're already there.
Yeah, the tanks are there, actually. This is just removal of the underground tanks, the old underground tanks.
Same time that we did the highway one. Is that what it is?
So the idea is.
New ones go in.
New ones are in.
Yeah, when was that?
Okay.
Yeah. Couple months. So 310 is just paying for removal or it's paying?
Partially removal, I think it's more than that for removal, but this is just the remaining portion of what they have left on the bill, and then we should get reimbursed from IDEM for that.
It's the difference between the total cost of the project
Yeah.
and what they were actually given from ARPA.
His removal was 150,000. I estimated, that's only an estimate, I think, they can go in there and there could be issues, so
Yeah.
I think that,
If there's any of the soil has been
Yeah.
contaminated,
Yeah.
please
Yeah.
remove that too.
so.
So what's the, no capacity change? Same size tanks?
I can't answer that. I honestly have Will's on the aviation board, so I think he took a lot of that. But I don't think there's any capacity change. They're probably bigger tanks, they're double wall,
Are they, does it present any risk having to be above ground?
but not any more risk than having below ground anymore, that's for sure. I think I'd rather have a double wall tank above ground than have an old tank below ground, that's for sure. Even a new tank below ground, I'm not sure, so you're gonna have the same issue 50 years down the road, so I think above
I
ground,
just meant like.
hitting a plane in,
Impact feedback.
Yeah.
Like extract.
and they're grounded.
Yes.
Interesting,
Yeah.
okay.
They were required to move those. Cannot have them underground.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
So this says discussion, you're not asked to take action.
What's that? Sorry.
It says discussion, you're not asking us to take action.
No, it's not, that's not been, advertised,
I
right?
was asked to do an additional for next month. So you'll see an additional for 310,000 next month in May.
For For short-term loan basis.
for short, basically. And they thought, yeah, major moves, and they thought they would have it fairly quickly.
Yeah, as soon as the project is completed, I thought they were already on those. What they said yesterday?
Do what?
They were already digging on, we're moving, in the process for moving, so it should be a quick turnaround.
Awesome.
No, I didn't.
Thanks,
No, I didn't.
Okay.
The summer
Thanks,
was
Andy.
Thanks, sorry.
It's just those discussions.
It's been a fun day to be the only commissioner here.
Okay, auditor's office up next. Transfer request. From two funds into one fund for
This is for drains.
so they want to spend out of 1158.
Might just have Amy come and explain it, but yeah, they, huh? Oh, she had to leave, Katie's sick. Okay, it's been a while since I talked to her about this. But, yes, we just need to transfer it out of these two funds and pay it back to 1158, which is where it is owed to.
Are the other two grant funds?
They're drainage funds.
They're just drainage funds.
They're all drainage funds, yeah. I don't have my notes with me. I had made
It's only a small portion of 2,700 balance.
Yeah. It's a good chunk of 26.
Okay. So 1158 is kind of like their bank that loans 2,700 money, basically. And these dollar amounts have come back in and they need to be placed back, given back to 1158 because they have borrowed from there. In a nutshell.
Yep.
Without a lot of detail.
It makes sense.
Yes.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve moving 34,943.25 from Fund 2,600 and the 160,196.86 from Fund 2,700 into 1158.
I'll second that. You? Any other comments? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. Yeah. Other business. Want to do the resolution first?
Where we're at here.
So on your resolution, second one down, 2539, scratch out the 10,000. And we
approved 94.
9464, yeah.
59?
Yes.
Everything else lines up. Everything else goes missed.
No, I haven't checked off also.
Okay. So we have additional appropriation resolution number 04-205-01.
Move to approve.
Approved. Thank you.
Second.
Eric. Okay, raise your right hand. Yeah, resolution.
Yeah.
That's a quick question of resolution. So when I was going through and finding them from all of our meetings, I wanted to ask, I saw the 01 to the 2025-01, February, the 02 2025-01, but then I had 02 2025-03. Is there an 02 one? Am I missing one?
That was a conversation we had last month about that.
Or was that because we redid?
One of them we had to redo.
Yeah.
But that one was 03 2005-01.
Right, we had to do it in March. There should have been two of them in March then.
There was
And
an
I get
02.
that, but in February, did I miss, was there 3 in February?
She's going to grab it.
You'll get it.
I could find an 01 and an 03, but I couldn't find an 02 in
We
February.
did an 02 in March.
Right, but that one starts with 3. I have that. I have the 2 for
Oh, I
March.
see.
She's looking
Yeah, I
here,
see.
because these are, they're done, this is the month, this is the year, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, however many you do.
The resolution number is
Yeah.
what I was talking about. So
Yeah.
my assumption is since it went from 01 to 03, that
You might not have even, we're gonna have to look, but maybe we didn't have any additional appropriations.
Approval of additional appropriation.
Yeah.
Dash
Okay.
2025.
The first one in February was the commissioner's tax sale. 02, 2025, 01, commissioner's tax sale. 02 is our February additional appropriation. We have an 03 for the NIPSCO project.
right, I have the NIPSCO. So the one that was ours that had general Title 4D, that should be 02, not 01.
Yeah, because the commissioners did the tax sale, they used the first one.
Okay, then this one was just numbered wrong. Okay, that makes sense. I thought I missed one. Makes sense. Thank you, Leah.
You're welcome.
I'm keeping those now. So,
Okay, next up, Fremont Public Library. Needs county council to vote on a new library member. Dolores Harwood has resigned.
It says that her daughter, her daughter was hired as the IT coordinator at the library.
So just to be transparent from a nepotism standpoint, she resigned and they recommend Mary
Whitney.
Seckwitney.
And I, for once, actually know this person personally, and she's fabulous. Probably the best teacher that ever worked at Fremont Community Schools. She was a second grade teacher. She's fabulous. I move to approve.
Usually, we don't know these people, so
Yeah, no, I was excited.
we have a second.
I will.
You weren't as excited, Bill.
Not better, but if Christina said she wanted.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. So hopefully we'll have a chance to review the March 11th, 2025 meeting minutes. Did anybody respond to any changes? I didn't see it.
I didn't see any problem. Looked wonderful
They look nice. Good job.
and quick getting it.
Nice to get them when they're still in our book.
Yeah,
Good job, Leah.
yeah, good job, and I moved to approve.
Okay, Ruth,
Second that.
Eric. All in favor, raise your right hand.
I'm gonna,
So. We have meeting minutes signed for February.
text that, I'll see them together.
Thank you.
There's 2, is there, will you double check that there's not 2 sets of minutes in there? Because I think in February we had,
Yep.
Oh, yep, there are, thank you.
Thank you.
You're on it.
Yes.
Good job.
Very good.
We had that special meeting.
Well, that's coming down. Then your monthly financial comparison report for March. Yeah. The treasurer's office.
Can I ask a question? As a group, what is our, so I was doing some research about what the normal, your cash balance desire, and I read that for government entities, it's usually between 15 and 30%. Do we have a percent that we kind of want to make sure that we always have? I know I've seen it in highway. Chip does an amazing job, but do we have a level there that a standard we'd like to set of what we have behind in our general fund, in our lit, in our,
Our measuring stick for that is usually the municipal consultant report, talking about or deviation from historical. And then it's like running your own business, you develop just instincts, and so that's where the experience on council, just, you can just get nervous, it feels wrong if a certain account is just not where it usually is, right? Just because you start to know where they usually are. It's good that they post those guidelines, but I think those are really unique to every county and where you're at, and your plan, and all that kind of things. Our general balance has grown significantly over the years, and not because we're back with extra money, but just because of the timing of expenditures and receiving, and because we've been disciplined. We're not getting up in front of our skis on spending money.
Measures too, but it's.
Yeah, exactly. Inflation definitely been a big factor in that.
So the reason I looked into it, because Rick Ray, every time he talks about, Steuben County talks about the fact that they hold 30%. They always have it, and they're 30% in their cash balances.
Oh, general, not all funds.
Just, I guess,
Yeah.
the place.
So,
He prides himself on that.
yeah.
And I did not know if we had a standard, so that's
Well,
why I
it's,
asked.
it's good to have that extra yardstick if you want to say, okay, historically, this is where we've been, this is what we're comfortable with, let's try to stick to this percentage. Yeah, there'd be no harm in that, but I think percentage wise, if we're general,
We are very,
yeah.
we're high on lots of them.
Yeah.
I already started a spreadsheet with balances and.
Really? That's
Yes.
surprising.
So we're already healthy. I'm not saying that we're not
If
healthy.
you would, when it comes to your initial budget discussions, that would be.
I just,
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And so our responsibility with this again is just to acknowledge and vote that we have reviewed them.
I do have a question though.
Yeah.
So some of these funds, examples, yeah, like the healthcare admin,
Give me numbers.
he is in the income comparison.
5101.
Special funds.
Okay, so we're talking, I'm just curious, so if something's in the negative, then is it just
That's
kind
a
of like,
clear, that's a clear.
okay.
Yeah.
That stuff's all gonna come back around.
Yeah.
Right. There's about 3 or 4 of them. Okay. Easy.
We should only ever spend the grant fund.
Yeah.
And especially that, right? We'll never see that line back and forth.
Okay.
Well, we try not to. We try to make sure there's not a negative. The other
So
ones, the
that's
grant
just
funds
grants we
will,
haven't received.
you'll see the grant funds quite a bit.
I'm always going into budgets looking at 1222. We moved another wage into that one this year, hoping that it would sustain it, and it has sustained it and actually gotten a little bit stronger. So that would be a budgetary conversation again, whether it maybe could sustain one more. Communications do that. Obviously, our new 1235, we're watching the balance there. We got that approved, that we spent out of the start of the new, obviously the highway department funds, which we get great reporting on, thank you, Chip. On that. Major moves, well, replenishment. And then ARPA's towards, I think on the last page is the ARPA fund.
And we gotta work towards getting that money gone.
So when's the
26
next
is
ARPA
coming up.
meeting?
It's not like.
We don't have anything scheduled, I don't think.
I think we need to,
We do.
for purposes of what maybe Frank is discussing,
Yeah, clean up some stuff.
and then going into budgets, because we know we gotta get it
Right.
cleaned up. So. Commissioners,
We can put that on the agenda for our next meeting to try to get a date scheduled for that.
so, if there's any further comments or questions, otherwise I'd accept a motion on the comparison.
Thank you, May.
Make a motion to approve.
I will second that.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. None? ARPA appreciation, U.S. disbursement list. Okay. packet.
How's the sound?
Two signatures is better than one, right? I don't know if there's anything for discussion, I was just reporting.
Yeah.
For the impact on that.
And it was less than what we thought. Say there's 15?
There's 15. I was thinking that
I thought we
they
had
said like
29.
23 or something.
Oh, I thought we had 25 to
Oh.
29.
Originally, but budgets got changed, wages got changed for some other departments,
I have a question.
and so
Is that payroll?
it was paid out already. It was this payroll.
Okay, well,
That was
we missed one.
that was per year.
Yeah, but the timing is just gonna be that.
Yeah.
Okay, correspondence, soil and water conservation. Did anybody make the annual meeting? It's one that if my schedule's open, if you think it's a great program. Yeah.
I went a couple years.
Okay, and then you've got a handout as well as in your packet. This is just correspondence, we don't have to dive too deep into this, but this, the public transmission information is one of, I'm gonna say, 3 new unexpected interesting bits of information that we've gotten regarding future energy possibilities for county. And view it as encouraging. I will leave it at that, other than maybe this would be the time to talk about just a quick conversation about Eric and myself, Isaac Lee, and Commissioner Howard had the governor's office reach back out as their follow-up. So when we had our meeting with them in January regarding energy, they gave us we would like this information from you. So Isaac compiled that information. I reviewed it, Will reviewed it. We sent it back through Mary Martin down to the governor's office. Thankfully, they followed back up. And they said, we'd like to invite that same group down for a follow-up discussion incorporating the Secretary of Energy for the state. Commissioner Scheit couldn't make it, but otherwise we went back and we met with her. We weren't sure if we were actually supposed to meet with the governor again. It's kind of a little bit vague in that invitation, but it ended up just being herself and her administrative assistant. I guess the takeaway from that meeting was just that we were well positioned to get attention from her department and from the governor's office in how we're going to move forward with the IURC because of our forward work that we have done with our ESA with NIPSCO and also being open to some other energy replacement conversations that maybe some other counties weren't. So then she emphasized, you are not the first county down here with this problem. And it is a problem, and we know it's a problem, and we are going to work to a solution. So we'll see where that goes from there. We also had a meeting with a very green new person out of the IDM office. And that was a conversation you're asked to carry down there regarding the relationship that the constituents have with the sewer district. If that's a nice way to put it. And understanding again how they're governed, what the transparency is of their actions, and what the constituency can do to have a voice actually be heard and not ignored. And a lot of this is triggered based on their new growth expansion being largely funded by their legacy members who solely had to fund their original project going in, including the plant and processing and all the equipment, and everything that's still being used to service the new, but it's being put on the backs of the legacy members. So there's a lot of constituent uproar about it. So we thought, well, let's just thank you, Eric. He went and attended the meeting. I'm going to give a quick Oh, that went?
It was interesting. There's been a lot of outcry, obviously people on social media, this and that. I will say Leslie Hall, the trustee, her and I were the only two people there. So there's part of that end. They were,
In the meeting at all? No other public other than you?
there was two people that were getting a fence approved because it's on an easement. Other than that, we were the only two public there. She did introduce me to them. I got the invitation to give them a call and go check the place out, and he was very happy to open it up and check out whatever you want. I'll give you a tour, do this and that, but there was definitely they were not thrilled at the presence of somebody else,
Especially
a county council member.
Sure.
The attitude in the room changed for sure when she introduced me as a council member. Very defensive, combative. Yeah, the conversation I had with him, it was really about transparency. People don't know what's happening. They want to know where the money's going. His response to me was, well, it's all in Gateway. They can look it up.
And then you went to look it up?
And went to look it up, and things are bad. Like, we went to go a month ago. I went on their website to look up meeting minutes the previous year, and everything was password protected. The meeting minutes for that meeting were not on the website. So when we got our paper, there was links to click, like the budget and stuff, but none of that was online. His reasoning was that the gal who usually does that was out of town. But why are all the past minutes password protected? Same with said the Gateway stuff. I think there's definitely they could solve a lot of their own problems very easily, just with transparency, and letting people see what's going
And
on.
this is the sewer district you're talking about,
Correct.
not IDEM.
Correct. This is the sewer district.
So historically, going back to when they were founded, the issue coming forward from the constituency was it was basically a forced taxation without representation, because the process of who those board members are runs through our township office. Township board appoints board members. Okay.
Which is all up for
Township.
election next year.
Yeah, that township, yeah, and the public needs to know that process, because that is their own channel into how that's being served.
Yeah, I think there definitely needs to be more information, but like you said, their side, I mean, people are forced to join whether you want to or not. I know I had a family that bought a house thinking that it was all done and dealt with, and then got a bill for $15,000.
Well, not only you're forced to join, you're forced to destroy your own asset.
Yeah.
Could be a
And
brand
it's
new
perfectly
septic system.
good, yeah,
Yeah.
you're paying too
And
much.
I know there are houses that come up for sale that it's very obvious why they're selling their houses. They can't afford to do this. So that's part of what we want to find out. Where's the authority come from? How can they force people into something? And again, what's our money doing?
Yeah.
So we're digging in.
And they do not fall under the IURC's utility.
I get a lot of questions since I've got on the council about that, and, I didn't know enough about it, but you brought that up, and I've been doing some research on it. Yeah, it's not necessarily a good thing for.
I think that, the sewer district is providing a very beneficial service to the lakes. But it's how they go about the business, right? So, if we hear follow-up from IDEM, we'll report
I'll
back.
have more. I'm gonna take him up on checking it out and getting in there and see what he
Need
says.
Somebody to go with you, let me know.
All
Well, let me know the
I
next
would love
meeting.
to go.
Okay, yeah, I'll put it out there. I'm also planning on replying to the Facebook world, because there's a page, I don't know if anybody knows, there's a page for customers. There's a sewer district. Somebody made a page dedicated to just customers, where a lot of things are said and go on, but once we figure something out, I'll get on there too and fill people in. Numbers are always good, right?
And then, so then thirdly, I had a different appointment. Then you guys were able to sit down with our representative, Tony, and carry on some conversation about the legislation being proposed, right?
Yep. But we kind of had a banger this morning on
Yeah.
SB1. Sue as well has had some chats with NIPSCO. Basically what she took out is they want us to pay for it. That was her takeaway. They weren't going to do anything without money. The SB1 stuff, Tony, they were still working on a couple amendments. Sounds like one of them last night
Well, it came out Monday morning.
or Monday morning got through. I haven't read it yet, but
I haven't, it's 365 pages.
I did scan it.
did you? Okay, it's the basics.
It's making everything very complicated so that you don't really know what you have.
And
It sounds like there's a lot of tail chasing down there. It's kind of where he got at, that everybody's trying to throw stuff at them. They're trying to keep the governor happy. And the balance of that is turning into a mess without making everyone mad. So who's going to win or lose? I don't know. In our chat, like he kind of presented that first couple of years, there was nothing. We weren't losing, but we were going to end up even with no growth. With this new amendment, it's like that's a loss substantially on the.
well, did you put together the business? They said you were working on that this morning.
Yeah, I've been working on it. The thing that concerns me is they're wanting to make the taxpayers save some money. So they're wanting to look at all this property tax stuff, but yet they're wanting to get rid of business personal property. You get rid of business personal property, where's it gonna fall? It's gonna fall on the individuals. They're also wanting us to do lit, where's it gonna fall? It's gonna fall on the individuals. So where is, Governor Braun's save the taxpayers? Anything, it's not a whole lot. So I just did some real quick and dirty. I don't know all the tax rates I do know all the tax rates. I did an average $1. We have 615 taxpayers that are currently $80,000 of acquisition or higher. Kelly, write fast.
I can't write that fast. I got that 615 taxpayers, $80,000 or higher.
Yeah, and those are the people that we're able to tax. Of our 615, we have 133 of them that are over $1 million in assets. Now that $1 million then gets deducted down. But if I were to take their total AV of my 615, we're looking at $429 million of AV. That brings in $4.3 million in taxes. That's at $1. All right, some of them are 80 cents, some of them are $1.59, so I just use $1. So we're looking at 4.29 million in taxes from those 615.
We'll lose.
Well, assessed value. What was it? You said 4.29 million of assessed value
Of tax revenue.
of actual tax revenue?
I said 4.29 of assessed value. And then I said thousand, million, thousand. So then that equals 4,029,290,000 in taxes. And again, that's just that dollar that I'm using. So your 428 million goes to 4 million point.
428 million is assessed, she said that wrong.
428 million.
Equates to 423 million of tax.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to do.
And their sell, right, is that it's gonna put more control in the county and the local government, but at what cost? That was our side of the discussion.
So then you've got your people, I don't want to overtake everybody. But Miller Poultry, look how much they've grown in the last 10 years. Every time they come for an abatement, you got Cardinal IG in Fremont, you got Brightmark. Shoot, anytime they come, they're coming at you with, multi-million-dollar projects that they're putting on. I think the last one Cardinal did was 500 million.
So that begs.
That's going to be new assets that we're not going to be able to tax at all with this current SB1.
But it begs the question of that 4.3 million in lost taxes. How much of that was abated already?
I didn't dig into that part.
That would be an interesting.
Yeah.
Because we're abating a lot of that already.
Yeah, we've got, I'm gonna say ballpark 42, 45 abatements. That's real estate and personal property.
Yeah, so when it looks at the personal property side, those abatements will just go away because they're not being taxed on it anyway. So
But then in the future, once those
TIF
abatements,
districts,
yeah,
which is what is paying back.
yeah.
and once those abatements are done, it's gone.
So
Nothing.
my goal is for us to have when session closes, for us to have Peter's municipal consultants do an impact analysis for us. So whatever ends up being adopted and the timelines that those are adopted on, and to have them kind of forecast, project that for us and have that in our May meeting would be my goal. So that when we go into departmental budgets, we kind of have our idea on what we're going to be looking at.
And random one, but the other one he kind of brought up was the hospital bill, the not-for-profit status. So people were on that anybody that is charging more than 200% of Medicare reimbursement cannot be a not-for-profit hospital. Yeah, so that it could be a game changer in the medical world. Their view of it, or his view of it, was you've got hospitals that are sitting there with $150 million in the bank and saying they're not-for-profits.
Sue said on Saturday that one of the non-for-profits in our state can go 7 years
Yeah.
without taking in a penny.
Yeah, so they're looking at changing that, which who knows what it would do to prices, but anybody, whether they would bring their, two things on tap, right? Either they lose their status, become for profit, or they have to drop their pricing to that 200 times Medicaid reimbursement to keep their not-for-profit status. So that was one of them he was keeping an eye on.
That's when he actually sits on the
Yeah.
table.
Okay, so good stuff.
I ran a real quick number. If they were to change it from 80,000 acquisition to 100,000, we're gonna lose about $1 million.
It falls in that range then, huh?
Again, that's kind of using that. Oh, no, that wasn't $1 million, sorry. That was 109,000, 109,000.
So,
So not quite $1 million, sorry.
so that cap change.
Yeah, cap change hurts. As it goes up and if we go up to 100 million, you're hitting some of the smaller farmers. So we start losing some of those kind of things too, besides the industries.
Any idea with the property tax, what that's gonna change to our bottom line of property tax if they do this? Instead of it being, you get the 48,000 as a homestead plus the, whatever the difference, if they go to the straight.
Are you here, Nathan, Kelly?
I have no idea. I don't know yet.
You're talking the homestead change.
Yeah, I'm talking about the home, that's, yeah, the change, the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And that's how it'll be.
Which is kind of crazy. Back in
Under set
2010, we were 1/3 value. What are they asking us to do now? They're going back to 1/3 of the value. That's what they want to collect. That's 2009. We're going all the way back. The way it used to be years and years and years ago.
So
It was changed because there needed to be money. So we went to market value and then boom.
For the benefit of all of council, can you explain the proposal that they are saying, okay, at the 1, 2, and 3s, their impact would just force us to take it to the cap. So are they saying because we're below cap on most of these, most.
I don't think we have anybody at cap, do we, Cal? The last I checked, we don't have any district that is at tax cap.
So when they say
Unless
we
it
can,
maybe as a business, but I don't even track that. Because you're talking Kelly's area now.
so when they say we can
I don't think we do.
recapture whatever change they're gonna make by getting to the cap, we're talking about adjusting rate, right? That's how we get closer to the cap. We'd just be,
Isn't that what your circuit breaker
and
does?
adjust
Kelly?
the AV.
Yeah, those are circuit breaker adjustments. And I don't,
That circuit breaker comes out of our pockets, it's cash not coming in.
you have to look at, we can run a circuit breaker report off Allow and see how much it affected us for 25.
Right now, when we tell people, hey, go sign up for your homestead, with the homestead and the supplemental, you're getting about a 50% tax break.
It depends on the value.
Everyone call Tony.
Well, that's just it. That was my ask. It's much easier to have those conversations when I can say, you're gonna cost us $4 million. Where am I supposed to get $4 million?
So when they use language, you gotta read through the tea leaves and know what the language is. When they say, we're gonna give you more local control, that sounds great. It is great. What they're really saying is, we're not gonna increase the taxpayer bills. We're gonna decrease what we're reimbursing you, and we're gonna give you the ability to adopt a new tax or increase your taxes to make that up. That's local control. So it's about who's gonna carry the tax burden.
Yeah, when we live in a community that, as far as lit, the the population of those that actually make money that are retired, right? Plus is retired and the bunch that is at a
Yeah.
not a great rate. Those that are here, that's shrinking.
Yeah.
So they want us to put it even more on the people that it's shrinking.
We're a very unique county in that we are relatively flat line instead of a bell curve of middle class. More people at or below poverty level than average. Less people in the middle class than average, and more people wealthy than average. And it puts us in a unique position, and the ability to collect income tax is hard. You know what our average age of our population in Steuben County is now? 62. That's a retired population. So lit is not a good tool for us.
No, but I mean,
Well, the government,
when the Sagamore Group did their study, there is only like 8 counties in Indiana that are actually growing. Everyone else's population is going the other way some. So why are we moving? I mean, it's great for the donut.
well, the why is because look at, that's exactly what I'm saying. Look at those counties that, let's say, a vote is more heavy handed, they're 80% homes.
They're home centric, yeah.
They're home counties. So, I mean, it's, when you look at the big picture, government wants to do something.
Our Hamilton County is, yeah.
He's gonna cut taxes of counties that are 80% houses.
And then Ben Smalls also sat down with us for a few minutes, discussed some things, and the sad news out of that was the gas tax that couldn't take it out. So. Sorry, Chip, because I've been fighting for that one already.
Not dead completely though.
Yeah, well, could come back,
Yeah.
not in this session, but maybe summer session.
There's some details.
Yeah.
Not dead in the water.
Yeah.
It's gonna get,
It's changing all of our major funding because yours is all still
it's gonna get interesting.
up for change. I just don't know how we're.
All right.
Seems like they're forcing.
Correspondence Northeastern Centers meeting in March. Chamber of Commerce, he's doing 12th annual Abbey Awards invitation. Northeast Indiana Solid Waste Management District executive meeting and regular board of directors meeting. Turning Point's annual dinner invitation. That's on a Friday night in May. It was from Doug at Northern Indiana Solid Waste Management District. Full board meeting April 10th, so that's in 2 days. Pancake breakfast.
Who I remember.
So we made earlier today. Anthony Wayne Scott Reservation on May 7th. And then the Soil and Water Conservation District meeting for tomorrow. Okay, then in new business, the excise wheel tax discussion, we'll have discussion. So we're getting a lot of information. Thank you for pouring through all of that. But prior to all of this, I had contacted Ben Sharkey immediately after our last meeting and said, Rick Shipe and I had gotten our original LOVA. It was here in that this day, the original LOVA information out about what we actually adopted. We passed pretty close to max. The thing that we mostly didn't max out was the larger truck taxes. And we had been in this list that was provided to the state. We're one of 5 counties that our data was completely wrong on. So it's not true that if we went back and adopted it at max, we would get $4.4 million. Made no sense.
So those that Tony gave us
We're bad.
were bad.
LTAP, Jen discovered that there were 5 counties that were bad. So if we were to go back and adopt a max, best she could estimate was we would capture $237,000.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
We pay for it. Yeah, we did this a little bit.
Other than that, I don't know that there's much to discuss. We're going to be looking at a buffet of taxing options to make up our deficits or shrinking government come budget time. But we just don't know until session ends.
They're gonna make it interesting.
The one thing that resonates with me is when we did, how long ago did we pass that
we'll tax low us. Remember? How many? Okay,
June date, hold on, I got copy documents right here. June 13th, 2017.
Okay, so at that time, with the information that was available at that time, we were told that if we passed it at the max, it would still take 20 years to get every one of our roads in okay condition. Your comments on that?
Prior to 2017, your road funding program was $400,000 a year, each year for about a decade. So 2017, we would have been able to go out and chip seal a mile of road at $13,000 a year, $13,000 a mile. So yes, you needed a lot. And it was going to take, it still might take us 20 years to catch up to okay. We're still playing catch up.
Well, when you said that 400,000, we were giving you an extra maybe $250,000 a year from major moves money that had been,
But that got you 10 miles of chip
yeah, prior to that.
how many miles of road do we have?
619, 433 miles of centerline miles of hard surface pavement.
What was the
So
second
I-
one? I apologize.
The first one, 619.
Yeah, I got that six
And
hundred
then it was,
nineteen and
the
then it was,
second one is 433 miles of centerline hard surface miles. Cost $100,000 to properly convert most of our gravel roads into a chip seal road, which is why we still have 189 miles of chip seal road. On average, we're receiving $9,000 a year to maintain each centerline mile of road. That's everything. That's through plowing, which we plowed 8 events more this year than last year, or average year. So we plowed about 45 times this year. That's 6 passes of mowing. That's patching potholes, removing dead animals, clearing from storm events, which typically we clear, non-snow related, we clear up to 25 storm events a year. That's striping, that's crack sealing, that's chip sealing, that's in-house paving for roughly $10,000 a centerline mile. That's with low items, which is 1/3 of our operating budget. Lot. It doesn't take very long. We have to do a minimum of 45 miles if more than crack seal road work a year to keep up, to maintain, not to catch up. 1/3 of our network is what we would call a fail to pour rate. So you're talking over 100 miles. I'm not going to work myself out of the job. I know, and I appreciate the support for the $250,000. We asked for $250,000 for what amounts to a Band-Aid for 10 miles of road to do what we would have planned to do in the next 2 cycles when we come back to those areas. We're talking about $1.25 billion.
is crack seal now $1,300 a mile, or it wasn't 17 and now it's what?
Chip seal, single chip seal is 13,000. Now I'm doing it for 18,000 a month.
That's the cost difference between 2017 to 2025. 13 to 18.
Jumping back a little bit to personal property tax. Business personal business. We got 9 o'clock this morning. And at number 19. Phases it out only on new equipment placed in service as of January this year.
That's just so that we can still meet our debt service, right?
So that means no new equipment
That means none of it moving forward.
moving forward.
It brings anything that says this will de-incentivize business investment in equipment, but I don't get that.
I haven't looked at anything, what time that comes through.
And existing equipment remains taxed.
I didn't get that either.
There's a call to action for, oh, this is from Isaac Lee in Miramar. Because he's down in Indianapolis
Will you forward
carrying
that?
these conversations. I sure will.
Thank you.
Then the key concern is TIF bonding remains at risk without guaranteed AV replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Thank you. So even the lever we have to pull doesn't help you much. If we,
I asked for 2 basic appropriations today for $250,000 apiece. Helped. It does help.
but the one appropriation, you would have been able to cover mostly if we had understood salt better. Not, that is not.
There would still been additional funds needed because like I said, we did have 8 more events than normal. And we budgeted for the 85 percentile number of storms. We were over that this winter.
So some of that was just weather.
Some of that was what.
Okay.
You can't live for.
Yeah, we would have still had to come ask for some salt. We can't budget for worst case winter everywhere.
The agenda?
And the other thing about Senate Bill 1 is meaning that we will have to adopt lit every year. What is that process for you?
That's a lot of work. We're gonna have to stay on top of it, because there's tons of deadlines with that.
And with the schools,
And to be able to, yes, and
they
with
can
the
only,
schools.
they can only adopt every even year. So if you have something happen in your district on an odd year, you're,
And they're allowing you to increase your lit, yeah.
Are they, I'm sorry, I have not read the new Senate Bill 1 that just came out, but are they doing the, where it's gonna change, where Angola will be the only one that'll be able to do, or county will keep their own?
That's in the road funding bill, actually, wasn't it?
I thought that was in Senate Bill 1 originally.
That's in the road funding bill. It's House Bill 1481 or something.
Oh, that's in that one?
Road funding, where they're talking about basically uncoupling cities, LOHOT from county LOHOT. So right now, the county adopted LOHOT. We have LOHOT. The cities and the towns benefit, we pay them out a portion with House Bill 1481 or whatever it is, the road funding bill. It basically made the city go get their own LOHOT, and then they would be pulled out separate from ours. So they would collect their own tax, and we would give them no distribution of what we collected.
I remember that, but there's also a lit. They were gonna completely redo the lit rate. So schools would have to come to us. The city of Angola is the only one that's large enough, so we would have a
Yes, right.
1.2 underneath us. We would have to, on whether or not Clear Lake got one, or Fremont got one, or Orland got one, or they'll just lose those funding mechanisms.
This is what Tony's excited about because he thinks that council should have oversight on their taxing rates.
I don't know how we're gonna keep up on all of that
I know.
with one meeting a month.
I know, and I think to your point about the uncoupling, I think it's an option, not required. I think it's that bill passes. The way I had read it, and you might have read it more recently than,
They put so many amendments on it,
yeah. I think it's an option that if the city of Angola was large enough that if it chose to uncouple and adopt its own law, that we would be able to keep their portion of what we're distributing with them right now, and then they would be able to tax on top of it.
Because then, is that one that it's a stackable?
they've used lots of words and they got confused. The city of Angola is the only one that's gonna qualify.
Right, and that's the same for the other.
And depending on which estimate you look at, if we quote unquote uncouple, the city has their own BOHUT, we have ours, and we're both at max. We might lose anywhere up to 150,000 revenue from the max because they are now separate from us.
Because it's not stackable, they actually pull out.
So then we would have to basically go to max to make sure we don't go down. Future years.
Because that was where it's different between the low button and the lit is like if we have a certain angle, put theirs on top of ours.
And then that's all subject to what amendments are out there, because I have not seen all the amendments because there's probably 300 pages of them. And basically, if Angola wants community crossing spots, they're gonna have to go get their own.
Yeah, because you can only get 50, the last time I saw, you could only get 50% if you didn't have it.
That's subject to change every minute. So I haven't been able to get that. That's, but
With the paying the excise tax and the wheel tax, you guys are only gonna get that from people who are honest and actually change their vehicle registrations over. That's another issue that we have with that.
I was gonna ask that about homestead too,
Yeah,
what we talked about before.
Yeah.
Like, there needs to be an avenue to stop this.
I would love for there to be a way, but they'd have to submit their tax where they prove.
I tried.
I know you
I mean,
did.
it's
I know you did.
fraud. There's no
Yeah.
other.
It is fraud.
It's fraud. Yeah, all of it. If you're, one's his name, one's in her name, then you can claim it both. I mean,
Has it always felt this way?
if our rate drops, we're gonna have to figure out how to be able to babysit that.
This is a bad year.
It's a bad year. The biennial budget, see, last year we weren't talking about a lot of this stuff. This, when you talk about something as big as property tax reform, that's a big conversation.
Just
Road funding was, LoDOT was the biggest one. You go down there that year, that was, I guess it was 2017, we learned today, but you go down to AIC conference and they were petitioning everywhere, giving you these green signs on a stick that said, pass road funding, improve our roads. So you're down there and there's people from the state are giving you this stuff to like walk around and go, let's get the taxpayers to agree to this. We had the road funding. State took it away from us. They're saying, you passed the road funding, your time. So it was this big push, like, oh yeah, we need more. We had more. Just used it for state. We didn't always operate on $400 and some thousand. It dwindled down to that.
no. And that's because the state of Indiana went from 1985 to 2017 without increasing gas tax. I was 4. And then I had 4 children. Span of increase in gas tax in the state of Indiana.
Okay. Anything else to come before council? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Bill.
Second.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
It's his birthday, he didn't know.
Happy birthday.
Oh.
Yay. Happy birthday. Another year.
I'll get the machine off in an hour.
No.
Do you have an hour?
Mailbox?
If you don't have an hour, you're the one that asked for it.
I know.
Oh, I didn't see we're here till noon.
I'd be in Bell.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Friday, I have a anniversary class, so I'll be in Indianapolis.
Stuff too, like, that's what it means that we were like,
And great. Are you going to be?
See you next.
with the girls, we all wanted to meet first. Also, the budget stuff and.
I would have been lost